can never ever find the right words. And there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl. So I can only say that it feels right. It feels right. It feels right. Yeah, I can only say that it feels right. It feels right. It feels right. Yeah, I can only say that it feels right. A doubt, felt like this is just a must. Put me in perspective, I'm the deepest in the cut. Everybody tuning in, but this is just for us now. We know I ain't ballin' yet. Hoes wanna holler, oh no, I don't call them back. Girl, let me see you hold it down, we gon' have a blast. Cause I just wanna know what you gonna do with all of that. Ain't gotta say a word, I know what's up. You can have it all, watch me rip it off. I'll admit it, you got me feeling hella love. Even when it's going down, know that we gon' live it up. Young shot caller, always been a baller. Know that you the one, I can feel it in my heart, yeah. I won't stop charging me, go and come harder. I can see you and I, way beyond the stars, girl. I can never ever find the right words. And there's no way this is real life. There's no telling you're the right girl. So I can only say that it feels right. It feels right. It feels right. It feels right. diamond from gold. Maybe you are, maybe you are something I cannot define. Maybe you are, maybe you are the fallen kind. I lay in bed with violence, the silent side of me. We see where fire starts to breathe. When I would lay in silence, the voice inside of me made me use my mind right. Use my mind right. Use my mind right.
We gon' burn it down. Burn it down. We gon' burn it down. Burn it down. I killed it, it's murder. I killed it, it's murder. I killed it, it's murder. I killed it, it's murder.
I killed it, it's murder, go crazy, berserker. I killed it, it's murder, go crazy, berserker. I killed it, it's murder, go crazy, berserker. I killed it, it's murder, go crazy, berserker.
Show them. Change the station with a new shit.
All right, what's up, fam? All right, I kind of messed up on that transition from the intro and or the pre-show to the intro. So, like I said, I'm working on an intro, and by far that's like not the finished product whatsoever. Honestly, it's more of a initial like intro 1.0. I'm trying some stuff out. I kind of have a bigger intro that's gonna require a lot more resources, probably someone with more expertise than I do with video editing and has access to video editing software and stuff like that. I perused around. I was able to come up with at least that one so far, this simple one, just my name and everything, but want to customize it a little bit more, add a little bit, more oomph to it, a little bit longer. I'm looking at like 25 seconds or so. And I'm gonna need someone who knows a lot more than I do. And yeah, just because it's the software capabilities, the knowledge behind how to edit and how to get certain things. And I think someone else could do that a lot better. So I actually have a friend, hopefully he can help me out. And he'll probably watch this video too. But what's up, y'all? Another night. We made it to. Oh, great. Let's see if I can open up this thing. This is like super messed up cam. So we'll see if I can open this thing. And with my luck, I'm gonna. Alright, there we go. Did not cut my finger. I had a feeling I was gonna cut my finger on that. But it is Thursday. Crazy how fast the weeks go. Not gonna lie. Especially when you're working, you have a job, and I don't know. I'm just busy pretty much every single day. Honestly, the weekends are the couple days where I'm actually not busy unless I have something planned. So we'll see. I might plan something tomorrow or Saturday, but we'll see. I might just keep it open just because next weekend I'm gonna head over to East Texas, hang out with my dad. Over there, they have this thing called like the Jamboree, which their city, their town does. So it'll be chill. Be good to see them again too. Haven't seen them in a little bit, but let's go ahead and let's hop into the topic at hand tonight. So if y'all aren't familiar with my guy, Kevin Samuels, he is, or RIP to Kevin Samuels. He has passed away as of, I can't remember the exact date. I want to say it was like 6 months ago or so. But I don't know how old he was. I want to say he was in the 60s, but he was a big, over the past year or so, he blew up on YouTube and social media and all that. But he's been doing YouTube for years. Like, I think one of his oldest videos is like 7, 8 years old. So he's been around for a while doing what he does. Initially, he kind of started off with men's lifestyle, specifically fragrances, so colognes and stuff like that. He focused in on that. Then he did more style, fashion for men, and then eventually went to like mindsets and what it means to be a high value man. He kind of incorporated, and I wouldn't say coined the term high value man, but he was one of the first people to actually bring it up and have it be a big talking point like it is now, especially in the red pill space. And he was notoriously known for doing these call-in shows where initially his audience was men, but it quickly shifted when he started talking about high value men, relationships, sexual dynamics. Then it quickly shifted over to the female space. So a lot of his shows, he had women call in asking him how they can basically get a man in his specific niche. And initially too, and you can see kind of in his later videos, he broadened it out, but you could tell his main audience, what he was mainly directing his message at, was towards the African American Black community, and especially the women of that community. It was really interesting because kind of a quick that was a quick overview of who Kevin Samuels is, because a lot of people probably don't know who he is unless you're in the red pill space, or unless you're black and you're in that community. 'Cause honestly, a lot of black people know about him just because he blew up all of a sudden. So that's kind of a brief synopsis of who Kevin Samuel was, and he was notorious. Yeah, like I said, he was notorious for doing these call-in shows, and then he really blew up on like World Star and TMZ and these media sites when there's this woman he was talking to, and he does this thing where he rates women, or women want him to rate them, and this woman thought she was higher than what he thought she was, and eventually get to like a point where he had this crazy roast line where he's like, "Ma'am, you're average at best." And it blew up, and a lot of people were hating against him, and a lot of people were also letting him know, like, yeah, honestly, he's just being realistic. Because I mean, in my opinion, yeah, she was pretty average looking, not gonna lie. But he has this rating system. Let me pull up my notes real quick for the show. And I promise you, this one's actually not going to be a super long show just because I don't have a whole lot. I might go on a tangent here or there. But relatively speaking, I don't have a ton prepared. But he had this rating system he did where first couple questions he had asked, just because it was pretty straightforward why women were on the show, there to get advice. A lot of them were anywhere from their early 20s to 50s even, and everywhere in between. And there was a lot of women that were kind of in what he calls the danger zone when they're past 35, they're single, they might have a couple kids, they might not have kids, but they still want kids, and they're just in this predicament where they can't really find a guy in the dating market nowadays, because it is very difficult. I mean, if you're a 30-plus-year-old woman, it's definitely not in your favor. That's why he calls the danger zone. And he would ask these few questions right from the start. He would be like, "All right, how old are you? How much do you weigh? What's your dress size?" And then he coined this famous one. This is kind of what the live's about tonight. But he would say, "Fresh face, out of the shower. What would you rate yourself? 1 out of 10. Can't use 7." It's so specific that he can't use the number 7. It's like fresh face out of the shower. Obviously, he was talking with women, so it's like a guy. You're gonna look pretty much the same. Like getting in the shower versus like we don't put makeup and stuff on is the point. So that's why I said fresh face out of the shower for women, just because it doesn't give them the chance to. It shows their natural beauty instead of the fake beauty when they put all their makeup in there and enhancements and stuff like that. So it was just really funny. Like fresh face out of the shower, rate yourself 1 to 10. Can't use 7. And the ideology behind that was because 7 is a very neutral answer that's still above average. So when you think of 1 to 10, obviously 1 being like not attractive at all, 10 being like the most attractive person ever, the highest 10 out of 10, which a lot of women think they're 10s, which this goes into the debate between like internal value and like external value or like what the world perceives you as. And it's a whole nother discussion. I'm not going to talk about it tonight. But 7 is a very neutral answer, but also putting yourself above average. So 1 to 10, 5 in the right in the middle is average. So literally the definition of average, you take 10 people, you're going to be in the middle between the 10 people. So there's going to be 4 people in front of you, 4 people behind you. You are literally average in the middle. And there's nothing wrong with being average, but no one wants to be known as average. Everyone thinks they're above average, which is another talking point I'll get into a little bit later. But when you rate yourself a 7, you're like, because 5 obviously is average, no one wants to be average, right? Everyone thinks they're at least a little bit above average. 6 is like, all right, I'm like slightly above average, but like 7 is like, yeah, I'm definitely above average, but I'm not like an 8 or 9 because 8 or 9 is pretty high echelon. But honestly, a lot of women will rate themselves 8 or 9, especially because he says you can't use 7 because eventually 7 is kind of like a cop out per se because you're like in the point or you're in the mindset. A lot of people are in the mindset where yeah, I'm above average, but I'm not the best. There's still stuff I can work on, but I'm not that bad. It's like almost like I think of it as I'm not average type of thing, so I'm good. And that's where kind of the topic of the night is, specifically with guys. And it's funny. I think it's true. I don't know if there's necessarily studies behind it. I didn't really look into it, but they actually have done studies on other cultures, but my main point is like men and women. I think women generally rate themselves higher than what other people would rate them, and men would probably generally rate themselves lower, generally speaking, than with what other people would rate them. And it's interesting, and it's very much American culture. Like American people are very much more, I guess, and you have to be careful when you use the word confident because confident is a positive word, but there's a very gray area there's a fine line between confidence and arrogance, which Americans tend to be on the, obviously they might deem it as confident, but compared to the rest of the world, it's very much on the arrogant side. So when you compare like Americans, and I live in Japan, so I'll compare to Japan, and they actually have done studies where specifically they're looking at language abilities. So when you have an American who's in Japan speaking Japanese, and they're asked to rate themselves how well they speak the Japanese language, they'll tend to rate themselves a lot higher than what their actual abilities allow them to perform. And on the other side, Japanese people, when they're talking about English, like how well do you speak English, they tend to rate themselves a lot lower than their actual capacity to speak that language, which is really interesting because it's very much a cultural thing. So being in America, being in the United States, definitely have that confidence, borderline arrogance. And then on top of being a woman, I think there's a lot of pressure as well to be deemed as like attractive, beautiful. It's a lot of beauty standards. So naturally women would want to rate themselves higher because like I said, no one wants to be average because average is almost like another word, at least in our culture, and almost another word is like you're not attractive. If you're average looking, you're not good looking. If you're average build or average fitness level, then you're not athletic, you're not in shape. That's just how kind of our culture and society is here in the United States. So that's his rating system. It's funny. He has little caveats like you honestly have to watch his shows, and granted, his shows are like hours long, but you can like watch snippets of it. But to get the full content, I would recommend watching a full show. They're like 2 or 3 hours, but that was back when I was like diving deep into the rabbit hole of the manosphere, the red pill space, the men's self improvement space. So killed a lot of time watching YouTube videos, having in the background. So I watched many of his shows full length. They were so good. They're gold for sure. And the fact that he's not here anymore, like I said, rest in peace, makes it that much more. It gives him a little more of a oomph to it. Like he would have this term as well. It's like you're an adjustable six. So, and this is going to be geared towards guys as well. I would low key like if I had to. This is me on camera rating myself. As far as an overall perspective, I would love to say myself as an eight, but if I can't use seven, which I said, I agree that you probably shouldn't use seven because it's like borderline. I probably would rate myself a six, like overall, because fitness level and like all that stuff, I do think I'm towards like an eight or a nine. Social skills, I think I'm pretty up there, but I can definitely improve on that. So I'd say I gear myself more as like a six. And then looks wise, I do think I am above average, but I do have receipts to say that I am at least a little bit above average. But I can also agree that I'm no Channing Tatum, I'm no Chris Hemsworth, I'm no Idris Elba, like super model type looking guy. So I don't think I can put myself in the eight echelon as far as good looks though. But so right now I'd probably rate myself like I would rate myself as an adjustable six because there are very in some aspects I actually am like an eight, and there's some aspects, and then money wise, like I'm just starting my career, I'm making definitely more than the average person does, so I'm not a five in that. Statistically speaking, we're talking about numbers, but I'm also not in the eight or nine category for income and making money and net worth and stuff like that. So I am an adjustable six. But in the case of women's like their looks, they're like not always like eight or nine. Like no matter if they have makeup on or whatever, they're always gonna look pretty good. You're gonna look beautiful. Whereas there's some girls that look really good when they get ready, they get dressed up, but then when they're not ready, they're in like sweats and stuff. It's like oh, it's like, which honestly, there's a lot of women like that. So don't be fooled, my guys. But it's just that funny term that he calls himself calls some people like an adjustable six because it's true. It's like some days you're a six and it's like oh, and then other days you can be like an eight or a nine. It's adjustable. It changes. It varies. And obviously, it's played down to the lower number just because that's more fair. You can't call yourself an adjustable eight. If you're adjustable eight, that means you're like adjustable as in like you can move ahead. So it's like nine or 10. So that's Kevin Samuel's rating system, and that's how it's like incorporated. And I'll talk about a couple of these points as well. What is average? Like you think about the average American man, what is average? I turned to Chat GPT for this. Get a lot of my stats. I'm trying to use AI a little bit more. We'll see how I can incorporate a little more in my content. I'd recommend instead. This is a really interesting thing I heard. Went to a cryptocurrency conference, but that was when they were talking a lot about AI as well, just because that's the new shiny gold thing in the markets right now. But they were talking about AI, and there was this guy. I can't remember if he helped work on the OpenAI team or he's very closely associated with some people that were working on the OpenAI team and creating ChatGPT. But he was one of the first people to test ChatGPT, GPT, and he was talking about honestly to get more into AI, to learn more about it, just Google and what you would normally Google search, like put into ChatGPT. Oh my gosh, I can't speak. Again, my speaking skills, I can definitely improve on that. Instead of putting your Google searches into a search engine like Google, if you need to look something up, put it into Chat GPT. And you can learn how to structure certain prompts because the better the prompts you input, the better the output you're going to get. That's essentially how it is. I mean, same thing like Google. Like you think of all the people that found out you can use quotations and certain symbols to get extract certain information from the internet that you can't normally find. You can do the exact same thing with different, just narrowing down and specifying what you want in a prompt when you're like typing out a question to chat GPT. Oh man, I'm gonna struggle saying that. But better at the end of the day, it's like the better input you put in, the better output you're gonna get, the more specific output you're gonna get what you actually want. So prompt engineering, it's a real thing, and those who are really good at it can extract much higher quality information than someone who doesn't. So where was I going with this? Yes, I use ChatGPT to gain some statistics on the average American man. Obviously, there's some stuff that it gave me an outputs like it varies between persons, so it can't find this, and I'm like, okay, cool. So, like the average man, height wise, 5'9", weight wise, 196 pounds. And if you compare that, if you actually put that in a BMI index that is actually overweight for the height, I mean, even technically me, I'm like 5'11", 6 foot, and I'm like that size. I'm 194, no 195 right now. And technically it has me at overweight. So actually 5'9", I don't know if that's obese or not, but definitely overweight. But for my instance, like it's a lot of muscle mass, and muscle weighs more than fat. So the more muscle you have, the more you're gonna weigh. So, but I can guarantee you the average American man does not look like me or have a ton of muscle. It's usually the other way around, a lot more fat. Fitness level, I tried to look that up. Obviously, it varies, but I'd probably say the average person exercises, does something physically active, maybe like once or twice a week, maybe if that. I know a lot of people just don't do anything other than apart from like walking and stuff. Average person does not go to the gym. I will tell you that. Income level, it says $68,700 per year. Education level, I thought this was important. It actually didn't give me a specific, so I looked that up afterwards. I asked it specifically, and it says approximately 35% of American men aged 25 and older have at least a bachelor's degree or higher educational attainment. So, if you have a bachelor's degree, then you're above average when it comes to education level. And see my men's value tip for education. Now, obviously, doesn't mean if you have an institutional education degree doesn't mean you're better or you can make more money than someone who doesn't. But in a lot of cases, you actually you see because education and income is actually directly correlated. Style, I tried to look that up. I mean, obviously it's very arbitrary, but I'd definitely say the average style talked about in my Men's Value Live fall edition. But average men's style is not good. And you ladies who watch me or other guys out there, you can probably agree with me. Just go outside. Just go to like some. I'm trying to think of like the normal place you would go to, just to see average people walking around. I don't know. People don't really walk around here. It's not like Japan. People in Japan walk around all the time. So, but let's just say, yeah, maybe like a mall or something. And you'll find some people that are like have pretty good style, and the other guys it's just like they're wearing cargo shorts, a t-shirt, and flip flops, and not like slides, but they're wearing the I don't even just like flip flops. They're wearing flip flops, and unless you're on a beach, it's a no go. Don't tell my roommate he wears flip flops. They're not good. All right, social skills. Obviously, this one's varies as well. I'd say, well, definitely when it comes to there's a big thing coming up, and specifically Gen Z and the younger generations. Like they can't talk to women. They're scared to. It's hard for them to socialize just because, especially the people that grew up in COVID, because they're just at home all the time and not out and about, normal school setting. A lot of people's their freshman, sophomore years in college were all COVID, so they couldn't really meet that many people. So their socializing skills are definitely down. But I would say the average man doesn't have great social skills, and especially when you look at probably ages like 20 to people in their 20s, is definitely not great. Obviously, there's a lot of people that are normal, like myself, but I'd say the average guy is not very socially adept. And those were kind of the things that I saw when I was looking like the average guy. I was trying to think of other topics. Those are kind of the main topics I found. So it's talking average height, weight, fitness level, income, education level, style, social skills. And the results come in and it's kind of what you expect. But it's interesting because women's idea of what's average, you probably see a lot of these videos where it's like the female delusion calculator, which I actually thought about doing when I was at BYU, like doing a test and asking. I think girls there are a little more realistic than the girls you see in the YouTube videos. But still, it's a lot of women are surprised. That's like they think the average height of people is like 6 foot. It's like no, it's only like 30% of the adult male population, and especially meeting certain criteria, what they're actually looking for, especially in a guy that's not currently married, is very low percentage wise. I'd love to see if there's one for men. It's like looking for a woman. Honestly, men's standards are, generally speaking, definitely a lot lower than women's because we don't like a lot of times men don't care. And I had I believe a live about this as well. It's like men don't really care about like how much a woman makes or necessarily her accomplishments. Like, cool, it could be a bonus, but like you could also like hang out with a girl who worked at McDonald's or whatever because I'm not dating her because she makes a lot of money. Guys don't really go for that, or specifically looking for that. All right, so I talked about the average American man, and this is a really important point too. Is like most people think they are above average, and people don't like being average. Like I said, it's a conception that if you are average, then it's like you're not good. If you're average test score, then you didn't score. Actually, average test score grades, on the other hand, it's like okay, like especially if the average is pretty high, but like average looks, oh, you're not good looking. Average athletic ability, oh, you're not really athletic. Like average is not a good word. No one wants to be average in our society because we grow up in a society, and I think this is a relatively good thing that people pushing you to always become better and better and to strive to become above average. But there's also this, I think, bad notion as well. It's like being average. Statistically, it's impossible for everyone to be above average because the definition of average is there's say there's 10 people and or 100% of the population, 50% are below average, 50% are above average, or 49% are below average, 49% are above average, and the 1% right in the middle of that is average. That's the middle. And there's nothing wrong with being average. I think people need to accept that being average isn't necessarily a bad thing, but then also continue to strive to be above average, but not. There's a difference, and I'm going to talk. Let's talk about this next. The difference between being confident versus being realistic, because I think this is really important. That obviously you want to have confidence, and I talked about Americans and confidence, somewhat borderline arrogance. But you want to be confident, but also be realistic at the same time. And unfortunately, confidence can breed arrogance, which can breed unrealisticness. Like, I don't even know if that's a word, but unrealistic circumstances for your current situation. So, for example, this is like a crazy example. Like, I'm like 5'11", 6 foot, and I'm so confident. I'm very confident in my basketball skills. In high school, I was very confident. I was really good. I was on varsity multiple years and stuff like that. I wanted to play center. I eventually wanted to. My dream was to become center for the Dallas Mavericks, an NBA team. I can be as confident as I want, but that's like not realistic. I'm 5'11". I'm 6 foot. I'm not going to be a center. I'm not going to play center. I'm not going to go against Giannis. I'm not going to go against Brooke Lopez. I'm not going to go against Jokic. Like, it's unrealistic. So you have to have this balance of being confident, but also being realistic at the same, like, in the same embodiment. I think there are definitely times to be confident, and there are times to be realistic as well. For example, it's like you're hyped up for a big game and you're like confident, like I'm the best player on the court. Like this is my team. I'm gonna run the show. I'm gonna propel them to victory type of thing. That's confidence. That's good. Rather than being realistic, you're playing like a really good team. You're probably gonna get beat realistically, but you can't really think about it. You got to think about we're gonna win. I have the confidence to win. I have the confidence in myself and my teammates that we're gonna win. That's a point in time to be confident, or right before a a, a presentation or speech that you're going to give or something like that where you're going to perform. At that point, you want to be confident. Whereas you don't want to necessarily, of course, in all realms, you need to be somewhat realistic, but confidence is more important than being realistic in those situations. You don't want to be like, oh, the team's better than us, so they're probably going to beat us, but we're going to try our best. Like, you don't want to think like that. You want to be confident in that situation. But other situations where it's like post game or whatever, or post presentation where you're getting feedback, that's when you don't want to probably lay down on the confidence aspect of it, especially when it's like, "Or what can do to improve?" It's like, no, I can't. I don't have any weaknesses. Such a stupid question. That's a meme from a video, but that's its period in a situation where you can be more realistic. Hey, you did X, Y, Z. Z wasn't necessarily the best situation that led to a turnover, and that's kind of where you possibly could have lost the game. What are things you can do better? Yeah, I understand that wasn't the right decision. You're being realistic, and especially when getting feedback post presentation, you're like, you could have added, the executives are talking to you, and you're like, we would recommend you to do this to improve your presentation for the next one. You're like, yes, that's very true. I should have done that. I actually thought about that, but I didn't actually end up putting in the presentation or part of my presentation. So that you can be realistic, and then of course, when you're talking numbers in a business setting, you want to be realistic as well. So there are times to be confident, times to be realistic. Obviously, you'd have in your times of being confident, you want to have like a tiny bit of realistic, but definitely more overwhelmed in being confident. And then in your other situations where you're being evaluated, maybe, or given feedback, you want to be a little bit more realistic. Obviously, you have some confidence. You're not just going to crap on yourself and be like, "Yeah, I sucked, and I'm a terrible person. I shouldn't be on the team. I shouldn't have be in this position that I'm in, managing people or whatever." You want to be confident, rooted in your abilities and your discipline. But you also want to be realistic, and you're like, "Yes, I can improve." You're human. You're being humble. So that's the importance of being confident versus realistic. And granted, I think it's a lot of social media that's pumping up people to be uberly exaggerated confidence to the point of arrogance and being unrealistic, or AKA delusional is the keyword nowadays. But most normal people, they can kind of balance this out. This comes with building social skills and recognizing social cues that and social awareness. That's a really good idea. I just convinced myself, or came to my mind. I'm going to talk about emotional intelligence. I want to talk about emotional intelligence in one of my live streams, just because it's so important. You can be the smartest person ever, but if you don't incorporate and you don't develop social skills or being able to read social cues, then it can put you in really bad situations, and it make you a really hard person to work with. For some people, it works in their favor. For example, I did door-to-door sales during college in the summers, made good money, and the people that were really good at sales, I was average. And I'm not afraid of admitting that. I wasn't terrible, but I also wasn't like killer next level. There were the people that killed it in summer sales, made a ton of money, are well, there's the three categories actually. Females, they always tended to do really well if they had a good work ethic. Also, people that were just uber confident and like almost to the point of arrogance, and they would not move from the door, and they knew people were kind of upset with them, but they were just like, whatever, I'm gonna sell them. that level of confidence. And then there's the third part. It's like the kind of socially awkward people who are like, wow, this guy sold a lot. It's because a lot of times they just like lack the social cues. Like for most people, if someone's standing there, like hands on your hips, kind of like looking pissed off that you're on the doorstep, most people are going to be like a little uncomfortable, kind of second guess themselves, and maybe like, I can tell you're not interested, so have a good day. And you're going to go to the next house. Someone that doesn't understand that, a lot of it's kind of in the, I guess, people that have like are in the spectrum for autism, they just don't recognize social cues. That's why a lot of people on the spectrum are very socially awkward because they don't recognize when people are uncomfortable. So they just keep going. And so that's the third one. The people that don't really recognize social cues and they just keep going with what they're doing. So it's very interesting. But it's a skill that needs to be developed, and just like I don't know if there's necessarily a way you can. I think there is a way that you can increase your IQ. There's definitely ways you can increase your EQ, but EQ is definitely just as important as IQ. Like I said, you can be the smartest person in the world, but if you don't have any emotional intelligence, don't have any EQ, then it's like you only can be so effective. You're very limited in what you can do. And the same the other way around. If you're someone who has like very high EQ, you can actually make it very far. And I actually say you could probably make it a little bit further than someone who just has. No, actually, it's probably the same. Uh, very equal. But if you don't have any IQ, then it's just like you're just dumb as a box of rocks, but you're really good at socializing with people and you're really good at managing people and reading rooms and adjusting to that. So that's why you need both. I'm always big proponents like you just need to be the whole package type of a thing. Obviously, dive deep down to one or two specialties, but overall, you just need to be the total package because if you're the total package, then you're irreplaceable. When you're irreplaceable, you can do what you want, you can charge what you want, just because no one's going to be able to find anyone like you. So be unique, create value for yourself. All right, and that's kind of it for tonight. Like I said, I'll definitely on the shorter side. But the reason why I want to talk about this, I want to obviously tribute to my guy Kevin Samuels, RP. But when you reflect and review your life, and it's very important to do this every once in a while. A lot of people tend to do it towards the new year, just because it's the new year. People say new year, new me. I don't really subscribe to that, but review your goals. You should be doing this somewhat frequently. In my last men's diet tip I posted yesterday, you can take days off, review, reflect, recharge, reload, whatever you call it, and you just like do self checks every once in a while, just because a lot of times we can get in our own. I'll even say it like self delusion, where we're so confident and almost basically to the point of arrogance in ourselves, where we can do no wrong, and the reasons why we're not achieving what we want to achieve, or the reasons why maybe bad things are happening to us, we'll blame on outside forces and other people rather than looking inside and being like, actually, I actually like self-reflecting. I actually am average, or so. Especially people who are struggling with dating, like definitely a lot of the cases, just like there's definitely stuff you can do to up your value for sure. I'd say more stuff as a guy than a woman. But as a guy, at the end of the day, it's just like you just got to level up in certain some of these categories. Like if you're like overweight and not in great shape, then it's going to be hard to attract a certain type of woman. And if you're like dead broke and you have no ambition, and you're not don't have any plans to make more money, then it's going to be really hard for you to find a certain caliber, a certain type of woman that most guys are looking for. So go ahead and rate yourself 1 to 10. Can't use 7. What do you come up with? And bookmark that and come back in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years of doing the work and see where you're at and see where you've come from. And you'll be shocked. It's amazing. So I'll leave y'all with that tonight. As with everything. Actually, let me talk about Future Lives. Future Live, I'm not exactly sure. I have a plethora of different topics I want to could potentially dive into. So I will leave that up for next week, and I'll probably think about more topics as well. Like I said, if someone has a specific request for a topic, let me know either in the comments or shoot me a message, shoot me a DM or whatever, and I can create that. Or you can shoot me an email. My email should be in my bio on my YouTube channel. But specific you want specific tailor-made message, tailor-made live, I can do that, or I can even hop on a call one-on-one with you. So I'll leave you with that. As with everything, you know what it is. Trying to help you guys get stronger, smarter, healthier, wealthier. So go ahead, follow for more tips, follow for more lives. Always stay pumped. All right, enjoy y'all's weekend. I know I will enjoy mine, and you know what time it is. You the outro.